Have you ever heard a whisper so faint that it was barely sound, yet somehow it shouted louder than anything you have ever listened to? Steph Curry was about to hear exactly that. It was a Saturday morning in Oakland, California. The March sun entered through the tall windows of the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center, creating golden stripes on the worn linoleum floor. The air carried that comforting smell of food being prepared in large quantities. Rice, beans, roasted chicken. That aroma. That means hope when you are unsure of when your next meal will be. Steph had been there for about 1 hour. It was not his first visit to the center. Far from it, since he and his wife Isha founded Eat, Learn, Play. Visiting places like that had become a regular part of his life. But there was something different that morning. Something that he still could not identify. An unease in the air, perhaps. Or simply that feeling that something important was about to happen. Is it impossible not to feel when the universe is trying to show you something? Is it not true? The center was located in East Oakland, in one of the areas that the city's prosperity maps preferred to ignore. The walls had that institutional beige paint that had seen better days. Faded posters announced assistance programs, free computer classes, support groups. In the corner, an old television showed cartoons with the sound turned low. About 40 people were scattered throughout the main hall. Families, mostly. Mothers with children. Some elderly people. Some men with that tired look of those who work hard but never seem to get ahead. "Steph, can you come here for a second?" Rachel Kim, the center's director, waved to him from across the hall. She was a small woman of boundless energy, gray hair always tied in a bun, glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. Steph crossed the hall, greeting people along the way. A handshake here, a smile there, a quick photo with a child who was looking at him with those wide eyes of someone who could not believe they were seeing their personal hero in person. Can you perceive that sometimes it is not about being famous? It is about being present, can you not? "I wanted to show you this month's distribution numbers," Rachel said, showing him a clipboard with papers. "We served 23% more families than in February. Your foundation made that possible." Steph looked at the numbers, but his attention was diverted. There were 2 boys sitting in the farthest corner of the hall. They were hugging each other, small, huddled on an orange plastic bench, their heads resting against each other, too quiet to be children on a Saturday morning. "Who are those boys?" Steph asked, interrupting Rachel in the middle of a sentence about logistics. Rachel followed his gaze. "Ah, the twins, Jake and Lucas. They arrived alone about 20 minutes ago. First time I have seen them here." "Alone? How old are they?" 8, maybe 9. They said their mother was working." Something tightened in Steph's chest. 8 years old. The same age his daughter Riley had been when he began to truly understand the privilege his family had. The difference between an 8-year-old child playing carefree on a playground and an 8-year-old child going alone to get food because the family does not have any. How is it possible that these realities coexist in the same city? "Has anyone talked to them?" Steph asked. Jennifer Walsh tried. They are very quiet, polite, but closed off. You know how it is. Steph knew. He had seen that before. Children who learned too early not to draw attention, not to make noise, to occupy the minimum space possible in the world, as if apologizing for existing. "I am going to talk to them," he said. Rachel nodded. "Be gentle. They seem fragile." Fragile. The word echoed in Steph's mind as he crossed the hall. It was not just about physical size. It was that fragility that comes from carrying too much weight on too small shoulders. Great responsibilities should never fall on small children. Have you already noticed? Steph approached slowly. He did not want to frighten them. He pulled a plastic chair and sat a few meters away, not too close to be invasive, not too far to seem distant. "What is up, guys?" he said, keeping his tone light, casual. The boys looked up. They were identical in a frightening way. Same bone structure, same cautious expression, curly hair cut short, and those eyes. There was something striking about them, but Steph could not identify what it was in the dim light of the hall. "Hi," one of them murmured, or maybe both at the same time. It was hard to tell. "First time here?" They nodded in synchrony. "It is a good place," Steph continued. "The food is good. The people are nice. Are you waiting for someone?" One of the boys looked at the other. A silent communication that only twins seem to have. Then the one on the left spoke. "Our mom is working." "I understand. And she knows you are here?" Silence. That kind of silence that speaks louder than words. "Is it far from home?" "We walked about 5 blocks," the one on the right answered, his voice so low that Steph had to lean in to hear. 5 blocks. In East Oakland. 2 8-year-old children alone. Is it impossible not to feel a tightness in your heart when you imagine that? Is it not? Steph was about to ask another question when he heard it. A whisper. So low that he almost thought he had imagined it. The boy on the left leaning toward his brother, his words almost inaudible. "I cannot take it any more. My stomach hurts so much." The other responded in an equally faint whisper. "I know. Just a little longer. They will serve food soon." Steph felt as if someone had kicked his chest. Those words, that tone. It was not the dramatic whining of a spoiled child skipping a meal. It was the pure exhaustion of small bodies that were genuinely hungry. "Hey," Steph said, and something in. His voice made the boys look at him with wide eyes. They understood. He had heard. "When was the last time you two ate?" The boys looked at each other again. That silent communication. Deciding what was safe to reveal. "Yesterday," the one on the left finally said. "At school. Lunch?" "Yesterday. At lunch." Steph looked at his watch. It was 10:30 in the morning on Saturday. More than 24 hours. "And before that?" "Thursday night. My mom bought instant noodles." Have you ever tried to imagine what it is like to be 8 years old and count your meals because they are rare enough to be memorable? Steph felt something changing inside him. He had come here today for a routine visit. Shake hands, take photos, check how the foundation was helping. But this was not about numbers in a report. This was not about food insecurity statistics. These were 2 children, as real as his own daughters, sitting in front of him with empty stomachs and bruised pride trying not to show. Desperation. "What are your names?" he asked, although Rachel had already told him. "Jake," said the one on the left. "Lucas," said the one on the right. "Jake and Lucas," Steph repeated, as if engraving the names. "I am Steph." "We know who you are," Jake said, a small smile appearing for the first time. "You play basketball?" "Yes, I play a little bit," Steph said, returning the smile. But inside, his heart was racing. His mind was already working, calculating, planning. Because in that moment, looking at those 2 boys who had walked 5 blocks alone on a Saturday morning because their stomachs hurt from hunger, Steph Curry made a decision. This was not going to be just another routine visit. Great moments of change begin when we decide to really see what is in front of us. Did you know that? Rachel approached, carrying 2 trays. Boys, the food is ready. You can serve yourselves now. Jake and Lucas's eyes lit up in a way that broke Steph's heart. That pure joy, not for video games or toys, but for a plate of hot food. They stood up, still holding hands, and began walking toward the serving table. Steph watched them, watched how they walked slowly, as if conserving energy, watched how their shoulders were slightly curved, watched how, even hungry, they waited patiently their turn in line, without pushing, without complaining. Children should not be that restrained. Children should be loud, messy, full of uncontrolled energy. Rachel, Steph said, his voice having a tone she did not recognize. I need to know everything about these boys. Everything. Rachel looked at him, then at the boys, and nodded slowly. She had worked with good people long enough to recognize when someone was about to do something important. I will see what I can find out, she said. But Steph, these situations are complicated. You know that, right? I know, he answered. But something inside him had already decided. Complicated did not mean impossible. And those 2 boys, whispering about stomachs hurting from hunger, were not going to leave his mind any time soon. Can you perceive when a moment is going to haunt you forever? Can you not? When you know with absolute certainty that ignoring it would be impossible? Steph Curry had just had one of those moments, and all he knew, watching Jake and Lucas picking up their plates with trembling hands from hunger and relief, was that this was just beginning. How is it possible that a simple meal can reveal so much about an entire life? Steph watched from a distance as Jake and Lucas ate. They were sitting at the same table where they had been before, plates in front of them, heads bowed over the food. And the way they ate broke something inside him. It was not desperate. It was not careless. It was too controlled. Small forkfuls. Slow chewing. As if they were trying to make that meal last as long as possible. Or perhaps their stomachs were so empty that eating too quickly would hurt. Rachel returned, a thin folder in her hand. I got some information, she said quietly, sitting beside Steph. Their mother's name is Lisa Rodriguez. She works 3 jobs, commercial cleaning at night, cashier at a supermarket from 9 to 5, and deliveries at night, sometimes a week. 3 jobs. Steph did the math mentally. When did that woman sleep? When did she see her children? Father? He asked, although he already knew the answer. Not in the picture. Never has been, from what I know. Is it impossible not to admire the strength of a mother doing everything alone? Is it not true? But it is also impossible not to see the crushing weight of it. Where do they live? Apartment in a housing project in East Oakland. Steph knew the place. Blocks of low-income apartments, old buildings that had seen better days decades ago. Area with high crime. It was not the worst place in Oakland, but it was far from safe for 2 children walking alone. Rachel, can I talk to them alone? Without seeming intimidating. Rachel studied his face for a moment. You really want to help, do you not? It is not just about taking a photo and posting on social media. It never was, Steph said, and there was an intensity in his voice that surprised even himself. Rachel nodded. Small meeting room down the hall. I will ask if they want to talk to you. But Steph, go slow. These children have seen adults promise things before. She was right. Broken hope hurts more than never having hope. Grand gestures mean nothing if they come without follow-through. Have you already noticed? 10 minutes later, Steph was sitting in a small room with concrete block walls painted a faded blue. A round table, 3 chairs, a window with bars that looked out onto the parking lot. Jake and Lucas entered timidly, still holding hands. "Hey guys," Steph said, indicating the chairs. "Want to sit?" They sat, but on the edges of the chairs, as if ready to run if necessary. Defensive posture. Steph recognized it. Children who learned to always have an escape route. "Was the food good?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Lucas said. "Too polite, too formal for 8 years old." "You do not need to call me sir," Steph said with a smile. "Steph is great, or Steph, if you prefer." A small relaxation in their shoulders. Small, but noticeable. "Can I ask some questions?" Steph continued. "And you can tell me to stop if you get uncomfortable, okay?" The boys looked at each other. That silent communication again. Jake nodded. "Does your mother know you came here?" Jake bit his lip. "No." "Why not?" She does not like to ask for help," Lucas answered, his voice barely above a whisper. "She says we do not need charity, that she will figure it out." Can you perceive the wounded pride behind those words? The weight of a mother trying to maintain dignity while sinking? "But you came alone," Steph said, without judgment, just observing. "We did not want to worry her more," Jake said quickly. "She is already so tired. And she cries when she thinks we are not seeing." Steph's chest tightened. 8 years old. These boys were 8 years old, and carrying the emotional weight of protecting their mother. "When was the last time you had a full meal at home?" Silence. Longer this time. Jake looked at the ceiling, calculating. "Last week? Maybe. Tuesday? My mom bought chicken. 1 week. 1 damned week." Is it impossible not to feel rage when children count meals, as if they were rare and special events? Is it not? "And at school? Do you eat there?" "Yes, sir. Steph," Lucas corrected. "Breakfast and lunch. It is the best part of school." The best part of school was not learning. It was not playing with friends. It was eating. Steph felt something breaking inside him. "So you came here today because—" "It is Saturday. There is no school." Jake nodded. "We heard Mom talking on the phone with Grandma. She said she did not have anything to eat until Monday, when she gets paid. We did not want her to be worried." "So you walked here alone?" "We are careful," Jake said defensively. "We know the way, and we stay together." As if staying together would make them safe. As if sibling love could protect against all the dangers of the world. Great injustices happen when children need to be adults before their time. Did you know that? Steph leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Can I be honest with you?" The boys nodded, eyes wide. "I grew up with food on the table every night. Not rich, but comfortable. My parents worked hard, but they were always there. Dinner as a family was sacred, and I never really understood how lucky I was until I grew up." Jake and Lucas listened, motionless. "But after I became famous, I began to see. I began to see children like you. Families working 3, 4 jobs, and still barely managing to pay rent and buy food. And I realized, this is not right. It is not fair. And it is not your fault. It is not your mother's fault. It is a broken system. Can you perceive when heavy truths are told simply so that even children can understand? Can you not?" "We do not want to cause trouble," Lucas murmured. "You are not the problem," Steph said firmly. "You are children. Children should worry about childhood, playing, learning, growing, not walking 5 blocks alone because you are hungry." Jake wiped his nose with the back of his hand. Our mom does the best she can. I know she does, Steph said gently. And I bet she is incredible. But even the most incredible people need help sometimes. And accepting help does not make you weak. It makes you human. She will get angry if she finds out we came here, Jake said, and there was real fear in his voice. She will get angry? Because she loves you, and was worried, Steph answered. Not because you did something wrong. Lucas tilted his head. Do you have children? I do. 3. Do they get hungry sometimes? The question was so innocent, so direct, that it cut Steph like a knife. No, he admitted. They have never felt real hunger. And that is privilege. A privilege that I did not do anything to deserve, except be born into the right family. Is it impossible not to recognize the lottery of life when we look at it head-on? Is it not true? I want to help you, Steph said. Not because I feel sorry for you, but because no child should have to choose between eating or keeping their mother's pride intact. Can I call your mother? Immediate panic in their eyes. She is working. Okay, no problem. When does she finish? At 5, Jake said. She works at the supermarket until 5. Steph looked at his watch. It was 11:15, almost 6 hours. What would you do until she gets home? Shrugging. Stay in the park. Sometimes we watch TV at the laundromat. Watching TV at the laundromat. Because the apartment had nothing to do. Or it was not safe to be alone there. Or both. Do you want to stay here? Steph asked. There is air. Conditioning. There is TV. There are nice people. And I will stay too. The boys looked at each other. Why would you stay? Lucas asked, suspicious. Because I want to get to know you better. And because when your mother arrives at 5, I would like to talk to her. If she allows it. Great changes begin with small acts of presence. Have you already noticed? Jake shifted in his chair. Do you want us to tell you our sad life story so you feel better about yourself? The question hit Steph like a punch. This 8-year-old boy had seen through so much performative behavior before, so much charity that was more about who was giving than about who was receiving. No, Steph said honestly. I want to understand. I want to listen. And then, if your mother allows, I want to help in a way that makes sense. Not my way. Your way. Lucas looked at Jake. What do you think? Jake studied Steph for a long moment. Those 8-year-old eyes that had already seen more hardship than they should. Finally he nodded. Okay, we will stay. And then something surprising happened. Jake smiled, small, hesitant, but real. You play basketball really well, he said. Steph laughed, and the tension in the room broke like glass. Thanks, man. Do you two play? There is a basket in the park. We try sometimes. So, later, if you want, we can play a bit outside. There is a basket here, too. The boys' eyes lit up. For the first time that morning, they seemed like children. Just children. Excited to play with their favorite basketball player. Can you perceive that sometimes what people need most is just to be seen as human beings, not as problems to be solved? Can you not? Steph spent the next few hours with Jake and Lucas. They played basketball in the small gymnasium. They ate sandwiches together. They watched cartoons. And they talked. About school. About dreams. About what they wanted to be when they grew up. Jake wanted to be a chef. Because everyone deserves good food, he said. And Steph had to swallow the lump in his throat. Lucas wanted to be a doctor. To help my mom when she gets sick from working so hard. 8 years old. 8 damn years old. and already thinking about how to take care of someone else. At 4:45, Rachel entered the gymnasium. "Steph, there is a woman here looking for Jake and Lucas. She is worried and angry." The boys stopped playing instantly. The panic returned to their faces. "Our mom," Jake murmured. Steph took a deep breath. "Okay, let us talk to her. Together." But when they entered the main hall and Steph saw Lisa Rodriguez for the first time, he understood that this was going to be much more complicated than he had imagined. Because in her eyes, he saw something he recognized very well: wounded pride, shame, and anger. A lot of anger. Great confrontations are not about shouting. They are about dignity being defended with teeth and nails. Did you know that? And Lisa Rodriguez was about to defend hers. Have you ever seen someone being devoured by shame in real time? Lisa Rodriguez was standing in the middle of the community center hall, and Steph Curry could see every emotion passing across her face like waves in a storm. Fear, relief at seeing her children. And then, when she realized where they were, who they were with, shame arrived like a devastating tide. She was small, maybe 5'3", still wearing her supermarket uniform. Dark hair pulled into a tight ponytail, sunken eyes of someone who had not slept enough in years. But there was something fierce in her, something unbreakable, despite everything. "Jake, Lucas, now," she said, her voice low but vibrating with an intensity that made the boys freeze. Is it impossible not to recognize the voice of a mother at her limit? Is it not? Jake and Lucas looked at each other, then began walking toward her. Steph took a step forward. "Ms. Rodriguez." "No," she cut him off, raising a hand. Her eyes found his, and there was fire there. "I do not know what my children told you. I do not know what story they told. But we do not need charity. We do not need anything." "Mom," Jake began, but she shook her head. "We are going to talk about this at home. We are going." She grabbed each boy by a hand and turned to leave. "Ms. Rodriguez, please," Steph said, keeping his voice calm, not confrontational. "Just 5 minutes of conversation. Please." Lisa stopped, did not turn around, just stopped, with her back to him, holding the boy's hands so tightly that her knuckles were white. "Do you know who I am?" she said, voice trembling. "Do you know that I work 60 hours a week? That I do everything right? That I pay my bills, even when it means choosing between food and electricity? Do you know that I have never asked anything from anyone?" Can you perceive the fragmented pride in those words? The dignity being defended until the last second? "I do," Steph said softly. "And I respect that very much." Respect? Lisa turned, now, and there were tears beginning to form in the corners of her eyes, tears that she was fighting not to let fall. "If you respected me, you would not have kept my children without my permission. You would not have. Her voice broke. The boys were looking at her with those wide eyes of children who see their parents crumble. "Mom, please do not cry," Lucas whispered. And that was what broke the dam. Lisa let go of the boy's hands, covered her face with her hands, and began to sob. Not cry gently, sob. That kind of crying that comes from a deep place, where all the exhaustion, all the shame, all the fear lives. Rachel approached gently. "Lisa, why do you not sit? I will get water." "I do not want water," Lisa said through the tears. I just want to take care of my children. Why is that so hard? Why can I not even feed them?" Great collapses happen when there is no more strength to hold everything together. Did you know that? Steph did something then that surprised everyone, including himself. He knelt down, got down to the level of the boys, becoming smaller, less intimidating. Ms. Rodriguez, I will tell you a story, okay? Lisa looked at him through her fingers, too confused to answer. When I was 12 years old, Steph began, my father played in the NBA. We were not rich, but we were comfortable. And there was this boy at my school, Marcus. He was the best player on the team, better than me. But he was always late, always tired. And one day, I found out why. The boys were listening, fascinated. Lisa had lowered her hands, still trembling, but listening. Marcus woke up at 4 in the morning every day to do a newspaper delivery route. Because his mother was sick, and his father had left. And that newspaper money kept the lights on. And even with that, sometimes they did not have enough food. Is it impossible not to feel when a story touches something deep and universal? Is it not true? My father found out, Steph continued. And do you know what he did? He offered help, offered to pay some bills. And Marcus's mother, she almost took her children and fled the city out of so much shame. Lisa wiped her eyes, still not speaking, but listening. But do you know what changed her mind? Steph asked. It was Marcus. He said, Mom, accepting help does not make you weak. It makes you smart, because we need to survive so we can get stronger later. Lucas took a step toward his mother. Mom, we were just hungry. And those 5 words, those 5 simple words from an 8-year-old boy, were what finally completely broke Lisa Rodriguez. She fell to her knees, pulled both children into her arms, and cried. Cried in a way that you only cry when you stop fighting, when you accept that you cannot do it alone anymore. I am sorry, she whispered in their hair. I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. You did not do anything wrong, Mom, Jake said, his own voice breaking. You work so hard. We know that. Can you perceive that sometimes the strongest people are the ones who finally let their armor fall? Can you not? Steph waited. Rachel waited, giving that family space to fall apart and begin to rebuild. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Lisa moved away from the boys, wiped her face with her hands, and looked at Steph. I have a lot of pride, she said, voice hoarse. Stupid pride. It is not stupid, Steph said. It is survival. But sometimes, surviving means letting people in. I do not know how to accept help without feeling less. Less than what? Steph asked gently. Lisa looked at her children. Less than a good mother. You are a great mother, Steph said with intensity. You work 60 hours a week. You do everything alone. You love these boys enough to be ashamed when they need to come here. That makes you a great mother. What would make you less would be letting pride prevent them from eating. Great truths are simple, but devastating when said out loud. Have you already noticed? Lisa closed her eyes, breathed deeply. When she opened them again, there was something different there. Acceptance, weariness, but also hope. Small, fragile, but there. What do you want from me? She asked. Everyone wants something. I want you to let me help, Steph said. Not in a way that makes you feel small, in a way that gives you space to breathe. How? Steph sat on the floor, legs crossed, making himself completely non-threatening. Do you know my foundation? Eat, learn, play? Lisa nodded vaguely. We work with families exactly like yours, not one-time charity, but systems. connect you with food assistance programs that you have the right to. SNAP, WIKI, food banks. It is not a gift. It is yours. You pay taxes. That is your money. I tried SNAP, Lisa said, voice bitter. Too much paperwork. Too many hours waiting in lines. I lose work if I go to those places. We have people who can do that for you, Steph said. Fill out paperwork. Negotiate with bureaucracy. And we can connect you with job training programs that pay better. 1 job instead of 3. So you can actually see your children. Is it impossible not to perceive when a proposal shifts from saving you to empowering you, is it not? Lisa looked at the children, then back at Steph. Why do you care? Genuinely. Why? Because I can, Steph said simply. Because I have resources, time, connections. And because these children reminded me today that privilege without action is just waste. Jake sat on the floor next to Steph. Then Lucas did the same. A silent solidarity. Lisa looked at her children sitting next to a stranger millionaire as if he were a childhood friend, and something in her finally gave way completely. Okay, she whispered. Okay, help me. And in those 2 words, everything changed. Rachel approached with papers. Lisa, we can start right now. Basic information. What you need. What kind of support would make a difference. Over the next 2 hours, sitting in that community center with worn flooring and peeling walls, a family began to find solid ground for the first time in years. Steph called people from the foundation, to social workers, to program coordinators, not promising the world, promising steps, real and concrete steps. Lisa filled out forms, answered questions, and for the first time in a long time, let someone carry some of the weight with her. Jake and Lucas ate another plate of food, then another. Their stomachs, finally, beginning to trust that there would be more, because there would be more. Can you perceive that real transformation does not come in grand dramatic gestures? It comes in filled-out forms, written-down numbers, and someone finally saying, yes, you deserve help? When they finally left the center, it was already dark outside. Lisa stopped at the door, turned to Steph. Thank you, she said. And then, with voice breaking, thank you for not making me feel small. You were never small, Steph answered. You were just carrying too big alone. Lisa nodded, grabbed her children's hands, and left into the night. Steph stood there for a long time, watching their silhouette disappear around the corner. You did something good today, Rachel said beside him. I do not know if it was enough, Steph admitted. It never is, Rachel said. But it is something. And sometimes, something is exactly what needs to be. Great changes begin with something, did you know that? Steph drove home that night thinking about Jake and Lucas, about Lisa Rodriguez with her 3 jobs and wounded pride, about how many other families were going through the same thing, invisible, silent, surviving, but not living. And he decided that this was not going to end here. This was just beginning. 6 weeks later. How is it possible that so much can change and still feel like just the beginning? Steph Curry was back at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center. It was a Saturday morning again. The sun, creating those same golden stripes on the linoleum floor. The smell of food being prepared. The low sound of conversations and children playing. But something was different today. Actually, many things were different. Steph! Jake and Lucas ran to him at the entrance. But it was not the same hesitant, careful run from 6 weeks ago. It was the carefree run of children who had eaten breakfast, who slept well, who had energy to burn. "What is up, guys?" Steph said, giving high fives to both. "Good to see you." "We arrived early to help," Jake said, proud. "We help every Saturday now." Is it impossible not to feel joy when you see children who are receiving now giving? Is it not? Lisa appeared behind the boys, carrying a box of food. She was different. Still thin. Still with those eyes that spoke of years of struggle. But there was something lighter in her, as if someone had taken a backpack of stones off her back. "Hi, Steph," she said, with a smile that reached her eyes this time. "Lisa, how are you?" "Well, really well." Over the last 6 weeks, a lot had happened. Steph's foundation team had worked with Lisa to sort out the SNAP paperwork. She now received food assistance regularly. It was not much, but it was enough to ensure that the boys never went to bed hungry again. More importantly, they had connected Lisa with a job training program focused on administrative work. And 3 weeks ago, she had started a new job. Just one job, with decent pay and benefits. Fixed. Hours. Weekends free. She had stopped working the 3 jobs. She had stopped working at night. For the first time in years, she was home when her children woke up. She was there when they came home from school. "The boys said you now have dinner together every night?" Steph asked. "Every night," Lisa confirmed, and there was emotion in her voice. "I had forgotten what it was like, sitting at the table talking about the day. Jake is teaching me to cook new things." Jake waved proudly. "I learned in the after-school program. They teach how to cook healthy food cheap. Can you perceive that real transformation is not about grand gestures? It is about family dinners, conversations at the end of the day, recovered normalcy?" "And you, Lucas?" Steph asked. "How is school?" "Better," Lucas said. "I can pay attention now. Before I was thinking about my stomach. Now I can just learn." Great barriers to education are sometimes as simple as an empty stomach. Did you know that? Rachel approached, smiling. "Steph, did you see the news?" "What news?" "Lisa now coordinates our family volunteer program. Families that receive help and then come back to help others. She started 2 weeks ago." Steph looked at Lisa, surprised. "Really?" Lisa shrugged, but there was pride in her eyes. "I know how it is. I know the shame, the fear of asking for help. So I talk to new families. I tell my story. I show that accepting help does not make you less, and that when you get better, you can pass it forward. Is it impossible not to admire when someone transforms their pain into purpose? Is it not true?" "How many families have you helped?" Steph asked. 7 so far. There is one today. Single mother with 3 children. Just lost her job. She is exactly where I was, but I can show her there is a way out." Steph felt something tighten in his chest. Not sadness, not pity. Something different. Real and tangible hope. "Lisa, you are incredible." "No," Lisa said, shaking her head. "I am just paying forward what you did for me. It is not charity. It is community. It is how it should be." Jake pulled Steph's sleeve. "Come see what we are doing." The boys led him to the small gymnasium. There were a dozen children there, several younger than Jake and Lucas. And the twins were teaching basketball. "We do this every Saturday now," Lucas explained. "We teach the little kids. Because you taught us. So we teach them." Steph watched for a moment. Jake showing a 5-year-old how to hold the ball correctly. Lucas praising a boy who barely managed to hit the rim. Patience, encouragement, kindness. Can you perceive that the most important lessons are not about basketball? They are about dignity, about passing it forward, about lifting other people. You two are natural teachers, Steph said. We just want them to have fun, Jake said. Because for a long time, we could not have fun. We were always worried. But now, we can just be children. So we want them to feel that too. Great lessons in empathy come from those who have felt its lack. Did you know that? Later that morning, Steph was helping distribute food when a young woman approached timidly. She was young, maybe in her 20s, with 3 small children clinging to her clothes. You are Steph Curry, she said, not as a question, but as a nervous statement. I am, Steph answered with a smile. And you are? Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. I just wanted to say thank you. Lisa talked to me. She helped me fill out some forms, and she said that your foundation. Her voice broke. One of the children, no more than 3 years old, started to cry. Sarah picked her up, clearly exhausted. When did you eat last? Steph asked gently. Yesterday morning. The children ate last night. I saved my portion for them. Is it impossible not to feel the weight of those words? Is it not? Mothers emptying themselves to fill their children? Come, Steph said. Let us get you a plate, and then we will talk to Lisa together. You are not alone in this. Sarah followed, tears running silently down her face. But they were not tears of shame this time. They were of relief, of finally, someone seeing, someone helping. Steph watched Lisa approach Sarah, put a gentle arm around her shoulders, begin to speak quietly. Saw Sarah nod, wipe her eyes, breathe easier. Saw the cycle repeating. Someone who was helped now helping. Someone who understood the pain now easing the pain of another person. Can you perceive that this is how real change happens? Not from top to bottom, but side by side. At noon, Steph was about to leave when Jake and Lucas caught up with him at the door. Steph, wait, Jake said. What is up, guys? Lucas was holding something behind his back. He brought it forward. It was a drawing, made on notebook paper with colored pencils. It showed 3 stick figures, 2 small, 1 big, playing basketball. Hearts drawn around them. We made this for you, Lucas said shyly. To say, thank you. Steph took the paper and felt something breaking inside him. Not from sadness, from something purer, from gratitude, from humility, from recognition that he had not saved these children. They had saved something in him, too. This is perfect, he said, voice a bit hoarse. I am going to put it in my office, where I can see it every day. Really? Jake asked, eyes wide. Really? The boys smiled. Those complete, unguarded smiles of children who were no longer carrying too much weight. We love you, Steph, Lucas said suddenly. Simple, direct, like only children can say. And Steph, this world-famous athlete who had seen so much, who had won championships and awards and fame, felt tears coming to his eyes. I love you too, he said, and I am so proud of who you are becoming. Great moments of love do not need grand gestures. Have you already noticed? Sometimes it is just a drawing on notebook paper and simple words said with an open heart. Lisa appeared, placed her hands on her children's shoulders. Boys, let us let Steph go. I am sure he has things to do. Actually, Steph said, I was thinking, do you all want to have dinner with me and my family next week? My children would love to meet you. And I would like you to meet what family normal can be. Not perfect, but together. Lisa hesitated for just a second, that old pride trying to appear. But then she smiled. We would love that. Great. My wife will call you with the details." While Steph drove home that afternoon, the drawing from Jake and Lucas carefully kept on the passenger seat, he thought about the last 6 weeks. He had not cured poverty. He had not solved food insecurity in Oakland. He had not changed the broken system that allowed children to go to bed hungry in one of the richest cities in the country. But he had helped one family, one mother, and 2 boys who now ate together every night, who now helped other families, who now passed forward the dignity that had been returned to them. And perhaps, Steph thought, real change is not about fixing everything. It is about fixing something, and then teaching that something to fix another thing, and create a cycle that continues beyond you. Can you perceive that true legacies are not about what we do? They are about what we inspire others to do? 3 months later, Steph's Eat, Learn, Play Foundation launched a new program. Pass It Forward. Families that received assistance were connected with other families, creating a network of mutual support. Not charity from top to bottom, but community side by side. Lisa Rodriguez became regional coordinator of the program. Jake and Lucas continued their basketball program for younger children. And every week, more families entered the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center. Hungry, afraid, ashamed. And every week, people like Lisa met them at the door. Not with pity, but with understanding, with a hug, with the words that everyone needs to hear. You are not alone. And accepting help does not make you weak. It makes you human. Years later, when Jake and Lucas were in high school, they continued to go to the community center every Saturday. They continued to teach basketball. They continued to talk to children who were where they had been. Steph, watching from a distance at one of his visits, thought about how it all began. How a simple whisper had changed not just the lives of those boys, but the way he saw his own role in the world. Real impact was not about grand gestures. It was about paying attention. It was about listening to whispers that most people ignore. And it was about recognizing that each of us is just a few circumstances away from needing help too. Is it impossible not to recognize that the greatest changes begin with the smallest acts of attention? Is it not true? Passing forward what had been given to them, creating a cycle that had no end. Because in the end, perhaps that is what it really means to care. It is not about saving. It is about seeing. It is about listening. It is about reaching out a hand, and then teaching that hand to reach out to another. One whisper at a time, one child at a time, one family at a time, until whispers become conversations. Conversations become movements, and movements become change. Real change. Lasting change. Change that begins when someone finally pays attention to what is right in front of them and decides that it matters.